over the widely reported meeting former President John Dramani Mahama had with a session of elected assembly members a couple of days ago, to be precise, on 30th July 2020. In the said meeting, the former president was quoted to have promised the assembly members of some goodies and incentives, including payment of monthly stipends to be sourced from monies that will be realized from the drastically reduced, elephantized ministers of Nana Akufo-Addo led administration should his party, the NDC, attains power in the upcoming 2020 general elections, which he is contesting as a presidential candidate. Please note the drastically over there. Drastically. I think it echoes way back to 208? Yeah. When President Mills, the late President Mills, may his soul rest in peace, said that he would drastically cut down the price of fuel. Is that so? Now, former president is going to drastically cut down the ministers of our president. In John chapter 12, verse 3 to 6, that why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wage, unquote. I believe when Jesus Christ was sitting with his disciples, if you could remember, this lady came up and offered to, bath his legs with this expensive oil, right? And somebody said, why don't you go and sell this oil? Because it's very, very expensive, so that we can use some to pay the tax. So your mama knew all these things. We are sick and tired of this lying spirits who are bent on creating divisions among people of like minds of their parochial interests. We are apt to think that former President John Mahama had no clear-cut policy to resource assembly members in the event of being elected president come 2020 general elections. Hence, he resolved to the drastically reduced mantra echoed by his predecessor. Today, ladies and gentlemen of the press, former President John Mahama, for almost 4 years on after exiting office, has now found delight in hopping from one region to another, propagating and detailing the unsuspecting public of what he had in store for the public, for the people of Ghana, with special emphasis on assembly members vis-a-vis welfare packages only to suit his whims and caprices. In the NDC 2012 manifesto, for instance, similar Jews promises were made to the assembly members, but to no avail, using a so-called splinter group, Christian Assembly Members, Ghana Association of Assembly Members, spearheaded by an assembly member named Charles Adu Asino from the Eastern region, the said to be interim national president for the group, in fashioning out sinister motives and articulating national president for the group in fashioning out sinister motives and articulating the hidden agenda for his opposition party, NDC, all with a view to disorganizing and eventually consigning the National Association of Authorities of Ghana, NALAC, that regulates the check and balances, monitor the twin objectives of transparency and accountability, coupled with streamline the actions and inactions of assembly members to enjoy, as well as by act of parliament, to cater for the well-being and welfare of assembly members nationwide to the dustbin. NALAC, once strengthened and well-resourced, is capable of managing its own affair without any political interference or inducement of some sort. We heard the former president talk about capacity building for assembly members. Abba. It must be noted here that workshops, refresher courses, etc. are part and parcel in the line of duties of assembly members. It was Jean-Jacques Rousseau who once wrote, "Man is born free, but everywhere in chains." It therefore stands to reason that man must at least make some effort to free himself of those shackles so as to contribute meaningfully to development with his compatriots. Friends of the media, it will perhaps interest you to know that this splinter group is virtually made up of only elected assembly members, in sharp contrast to the established norm of the district assembly concept captured in Act 936 of 2016, previously Act 462 1993, to a large extent, the 1992 Constitution, Article 242A, Section A to B, amongst other relevant bylaws, where the composition and the full complement of assembly comprises both elected and government appointees. In another discourse, the 1992 Constitution quotes, in part, in Article 240, Section 2, that the system of decentralized local government shall have the following features. Indeed, the former president was trying to stress that we have central government projects which are being abandoned. If you saw the video, that has been abandoned all over Ghana. And what we are trying to say here is that constitutionally, there's a mandate that the parliament or central government should perform and use the district assemblies in terms of development and programs that is supposed to come down to the districts. So it's a parliament shall enact appropriate laws to ensure that functions, powers, responsibilities, and resources are at all times transferred from the central government to local government units in a coordinated manner, and quote. And we know that most of you, especially our friends for both the print and electronics, will receive this development emanating from the president, who had for more than 3 decades seen it all from the grassroots, assembly member, member of parliament, deputy substantive minister, vice president, to the presidency, with surprising equanimity of some sort. Take, for instance, the former president in his quest and desperation for power had succeeded, as it were, in shunning the tenets of constitutional provisions, legislations, that is, legislative instrument LI 1967, Schedule 4, Regulation 25, that spelled out that unit committee members shall handle issues pertaining to birth and death registration in their respective localities of electoral areas under the guidance of Registrar of Birth and Death, amongst others. Hence, for the former president to promise those assembly members he met with handling over the duties and roles assigned unit committees is neither here nor there, and a serious breach of the Constitution and the Enabling Local Government Act 936 of 2016, among others. He must record here that there is no gainsaying the fact that his style of governance, which was loaded with selfish interests and dictatorial tendencies, thus not allowing the system and structures work to the letter and the spirit of laid down rules, contributed to a large extent the inability to execute most projects the government under his watch initiated being abandoned to date. These central government projects could not see the green light at the end of the tunnel. Hence, there were no coordinated and monitoring by the various district assemblies of those projects. In effect, the assemblies seen as agents of development were kept in the dark. The fact still remains that where and when was the so-called Ghana Association of Assembly Members formed? Who are the members of the executives? Their results of funding coupled with signatories to their account and manifesto. And when did the former President John Mahama realized the assembly members need his intervention and assistance. When was the association registered and incorporated? Was the composition of the so-called association formed in line and in conformity with the district assembly concept, where both elected and government appointee assembly members dine with and wine together? We believe these are many excellent issues need answered to, so to speak. To sum it all up, we wish to appeal to the former president, John Dramani Mahama, to leave assembly members alone in his diabolical scheme of things, unguarded political utterances and activities. Hence, the present government, in its attempt to change the status quo, where the assembly members are key actors of the decentralization process through a referendum to select and elect actors of the decentralization process through a referendum to select and elect on political parties line, was stoutly opposed by his party, NDC. To sponsor those elected assembly members on regional campaign tours on his behalf leave much to be desired. It is a mission impossible of some sort, except those who align and affiliated to his political party, NDC. We are of age. We've come of age, so we can speak for ourselves. Yes, we've come of age, and we can fight for our own inalienable rights. With the passage of time, after all, with the passage of time, members of parliament had part of the common fund, MP's common fund, smuggled into the system in their favor to stop the MMDCEs bluffing them. Apologies to Dr. Kwame Nahoi. On this note, we wish to thank you once more for your patience and time. Thank you.